We all remember Pontius Pilate for one unforgettable moment. A basin of water, a restless crowd, a condemned man standing silent, and a Roman governor trying to wash guilt from his hands. But here's a question most people never ask. What happened to Pilate after Jesus was crucified? Did he return to his palace and continue life as if nothing had happened? Did he regret the decision that placed his name forever beside the cross? Or did the same empire he served eventually turn against him? The answer is not as simple as many people think. After the crucifixion, Pontius Pilate did not vanish immediately from history. He remained in power for a few more years. He still commanded soldiers. He still governed Judea. He still had the authority to punish, execute, and crush resistance in the name of Rome. But around 36 AD, something happened that brought his rule crashing down. A violent incident, a political complaint, and a journey back to Rome would turn the judge into the judged. To understand Pilate's ending, we must first understand the world he ruled. Judea was not a peaceful province. It was tense, religious, proud, and deeply uncomfortable under Roman occupation. Rome wanted order. The Jewish people wanted dignity, freedom, and respect for their faith. Between those two forces stood men like Pilate, governors sent by the empire to keep control at any cost. His job was not to be loved. His job was to keep rebellion from spreading. Pilate was not a gentle ruler. Ancient writers describe him as harsh, stubborn, and quick to use force. He offended the people more than once. He brought Roman symbols into places where they were hated. He handled protest with violence. He seemed to believe that fear was easier than trust. To Rome, that may have looked like strength. To the people of Judea, it felt like cruelty dressed in authority. Then came Jesus of Nazareth. By the time Jesus was brought before Pilate, Jerusalem was already full of danger. It was Passover, a season when thousands came into the city. The streets were crowded. Religious feeling was high. Roman soldiers watched carefully because any large gathering could turn into unrest. Into that charged atmosphere, the religious leaders brought Jesus to the governor and accused him of claiming to be king. That word mattered. King. To modern ears, it may sound spiritual or symbolic, but to Rome, it sounded political. Rome did not tolerate rival kings unless Rome had approved them. So Pilate asked Jesus the question that mattered most to him. Are you the king of the Jews? But Jesus did not answer like a rebel trying to start a war. He did not beg for mercy. He did not flatter Pilate. He did not panic. He stood there with a silence that seemed stronger than fear. That silence unsettled the scene. Pilate saw something unusual in Jesus. The man before him did not look like a violent revolutionary. He had no army standing behind him. He had no weapon in his hand. He did not seem desperate to save himself. The Gospels show Pilate trying to release him, or at least trying to avoid responsibility for killing him. But pressure was rising from every side. The crowd shouted, the leaders insisted, and Pilate, the man with the power to decide, began looking for a way to protect himself. That is when he made the choice that would follow him forever. He handed Jesus over to be crucified. Then, in a gesture meant to separate himself from the decision, he washed his hands in front of the crowd. It was a public performance of innocence, a way of saying, this blood is not on me. But history did not accept that. Faith did not accept that. Memory did not accept that. His hands may have touched water, but his name remained tied to the cross. The strange thing is that nothing dramatic seems to have happened to Pilate immediately afterward. No official record says he collapsed under guilt. No Roman order removed him the next day. No ancient document tells us that he ran from Jerusalem in fear. As far as history shows, Pilate stayed where he was. Jesus was crucified, and Pilate continued to govern. The man who sentenced Jesus still held power over Judea. But imagine what that meant. Pilate remained in the same region where Jesus' followers began preaching that Jesus had risen from the dead. He stayed in power while the name of Jesus refused to disappear. Rome used crucifixion to erase people. It was meant to humiliate them, terrify their followers, and end their movement. But Jesus' death did not silence his followers. Instead, their message grew louder. The crucified man was being proclaimed as alive. Did Pilate hear those rumors? Almost certainly, news of unrest and public preaching would have reached the ears of Roman officials. Did he care? That is harder to know. We do not have Pilate's diary. We do not have a confession. We do not have a letter where he says, "I remember that man." History gives us silence at the very place where we want a human voice. But that silence makes the mystery even stronger. Because Pilate had seen many men die. Rome crucified many people. To a governor like him, executions may have been part of the machinery of power. But this execution became different. This name did not fade. This victim did not vanish into the dust of Roman punishment. The followers of Jesus kept speaking. And Pilate, whether annoyed, afraid, indifferent, or secretly troubled, had to live with the fact that the case he tried to end was not ending. Still, Pilate's downfall did not come because of Jesus' followers. It came from another religious crisis. Around 36 AD, a group of Samaritans gathered near Mount Gerizim, a mountain sacred to them. According to the ancient historian Josephus, they had been stirred by a man who claimed he would reveal sacred objects hidden there from the time of Moses. To the Samaritans, this may have felt like a holy event. To Pilate, it looked dangerous. Pilate responded the way he often did. He sent soldiers. The Roman forces attacked the gathering. Some were killed. Others were arrested. The leaders were executed. It was brutal, swift, and meant to send a message. But this time, Pilate's violence created a problem he could not control. The Samaritans complained to Vitellius, the Roman governor of Syria, who had authority above Pilate. And unlike others who may have suffered under Pilate in silence, their complaint reached someone powerful enough to act. This was the turning point. Vitellius removed Pilate from his position and ordered him to go to Rome to answer before the emperor. Think about the reversal. Pilate, who once sat in judgment over Jesus, was now being summoned to judgment himself. The man who questioned prisoners was now the man under question. The governor who represented Roman power suddenly discovered that Rome's protection had limits. There is a cold lesson in that moment. Pilate served Rome, but Rome did not exist to protect Pilate. Rome used men like him as long as they were useful. If they became a problem, they could be removed. Pilate had ruled with force, but now a greater force called him home. He had once stood above the accused. Now he had to travel as one accused. But then history adds another twist. Pilate was sent to Rome to answer to Emperor Tiberius. Yet before Pilate arrived, Tiberius died. The emperor who was supposed to judge him was gone. And after that, the clear historical record becomes thin. Pilate walks out of Judea and into one of the most mysterious silences in ancient history. What happened next? This is where fact, tradition, and legend begin to separate. The most careful answer is that we do not know for certain. We know Pilate was removed after the Samaritan incident. We know he was sent toward Rome. We know he no longer governed Judea. But after that, history does not give us a clean ending. There is no confirmed Roman record that says exactly where he lived, how he died, or what he felt in his final days. And that silence created room for stories. Some traditions say Pilate was exiled. Some say he fell into disgrace. Some say he died by suicide. Some say he was punished by God. Others go in a completely different direction and suggest that he later came to believe in Christ. That is the strange afterlife of Pontius Pilate. One of the most famous men in the New Testament has one of the most uncertain endings. One later Christian writer, Eusebius, claimed that Pilate suffered misfortune under Emperor Caligula and took his own life. This was written long after Pilate lived, so it cannot be treated as certain proof. But it shows how early Christians thought about him. Many believed a man who played such a role in the death of Jesus could not simply escape judgment. If earthly records were silent, moral imagination filled the gap. Over time, the legends grew darker. In some Western stories, Pilate is exiled to Gaul, in the area of modern France. In other medieval traditions, his body is thrown into water, but the waters reject him. Rivers become troubled. Storms rise. His corpse is moved from place to place because it brings unrest wherever it goes. Finally, in some versions, it is cast into a remote mountain lake far from human life. These legends are not reliable history, but they are emotionally revealing. People imagine Pilate as a man whose guilt could not rest. Even his dead body could not find peace. The water he used to wash his hands became useless. No river could cleanse him. No distance could free him. No burial could silence what he had done. In those stories, Pilate becomes a symbol of guilt that keeps returning. But here is the surprising part. Not every tradition condemns Pilate completely. In some Eastern Christian traditions, Pilate is treated with more sympathy. Some stories suggest he later recognized the truth about Jesus. Some even honor him and his wife. In the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, Pilate and his wife are remembered in a very different light than many Western Christians might expect. Why would anyone see Pilate sympathetically? Because even in the gospel accounts, Pilate is not shown as a simple monster. He is weak, unjust, and responsible, but he is also troubled. He questions Jesus. He hesitates. He seems to know that the case against Jesus is not clean. His wife warns him after having a troubling dream. Pilate tries to release Jesus, but he does not have the courage to stand against the pressure around him. That is what makes Pilate so haunting. He is not frightening because he is purely evil. He is frightening because he is painfully human. He sees enough truth to hesitate, but not enough to act. He senses innocence, but chooses safety. He wants to avoid guilt, but he does not want to pay the price of justice. He tries to stand in the middle, but the middle becomes a place of betrayal. This is why Pilate's story still matters. Most people will never govern a province. Most people will never sentence someone to death. But many people know the temptation Pilate faced. The temptation to stay quiet when speaking up is costly. The temptation to protect your position instead of protecting the truth. The temptation to say, "This is not my fault," while still allowing wrong to happen. Pilate's tragedy is that he did not need to hate Jesus in order to condemn him. He only needed to fear the consequences of doing the right thing. He only needed to care more about order than justice. He only needed to let the crowd, the leaders, and his political future become louder than his conscience. That is why the washing of hands is such a powerful image. It is the image of a man trying to look innocent without being brave. After 36 AD, Pilate's official life fades into darkness, but his name grows larger with every century. Rome moved on. Emperors rose and died. Jerusalem was later destroyed. The empire that Pilate served eventually weakened and fell. But Pilate's name survived, not because he built a great city, not because he won a famous war, not because he wrote a law that changed the world. His name survived because of the man he condemned. Every week, across the world, Christians still speak his name in the creed, "Suffered under Pontius Pilate." That line is remarkable. It does not say Jesus suffered under Caesar. It does not name the crowd. It names Pilate. The governor who tried to step away from responsibility became permanently attached to the event he wanted to survive. Maybe that is history's final irony. Pilate may have thought Jesus was one more provincial problem, one more difficult case, one more execution to keep the peace. But the man he handed over to death became the center of a faith that spread across the world. And Pilate, who had the power that day, became remembered mainly for his failure to use it justly. So what really happened to Pontius Pilate after the crucifixion of Jesus? The honest answer has two sides. Historically, he continued as governor for a few years. Then, around 36 AD, after violently suppressing a Samaritan gathering near Mount Gerizim, he was removed from office and sent to Rome. After that, the solid record becomes uncertain. His final days are hidden from us, but morally and symbolically, his fate is clearer. Pilate became a warning. He became the face of responsibility avoided but not escaped. He became the man who washed his hands, only to have history remember the stain. He became proof that power cannot always protect a person from the meaning of their choices. Perhaps Pilate died in disgrace. Perhaps he lived quietly after losing office. Perhaps he regretted what he had done. Perhaps he hardened himself and refused to think about it. We cannot know with certainty, but we do know this. He never escaped the question his life left behind. What do you do when truth stands in front of you, silent and wounded, and the world demands that you choose? Pilate chose Rome. He chose pressure. He chose survival. He chose the safety of his position over the innocence of the man before him. And because of that choice, his name became tied forever to the cross. Not as the strongest man in the story, but as the man who had power and still surrendered to fear. That is why the fate of Pontius Pilate is more than a historical mystery. It is a mirror. It asks whether a person can truly wash away guilt without changing their actions. It asks whether neutrality is still neutral when innocent blood is on the line. It asks whether silence can become a sentence. In the end, Pilate's final location matters less than the lesson his life left behind. The records may not tell us where he took his last breath, but history tells us what became of his name. He became the man who tried to avoid responsibility and was remembered for it forever. If this story made you see Pontius Pilate differently, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Pilate was a coward, a political survivor, a guilty man, or someone who later regretted what he did? And if you want more powerful stories from history, faith, and the forgotten corners of the ancient world, like this video, subscribe, and watch the next story on your screen now.